Morning. Yeah, so I invite you to close your eyes and just take a breath. Exhale. Take a moment to land here now in the present. Whatever you've been doing earlier, all of that stuff is over. It's not for right now. And whatever you may have planned to do later, right now that can wait. Simply be present in this. Listen, taste, smell, feel. Who would you be right now? Didn't have a future, didn't have a past. Experience of right now. As you stay here connected to your body and your breath, I'll read to you text Jeff Foster. Falling in love with where you are. Saying yes to this moment exactly as it is. Saying yes to yourself exactly as you are. Doesn't mean giving up on the possibility of change. It doesn't mean that answers won't arrive, sadness won't disappear, that pain won't ease, that intelligent action won't happen in the next scene. It means a total alignment with the present scene, which contains the intelligence of an entire universe. It means deep trust in this instant of life, the only instant there is, and letting go of promises and ideas of how life should be. Instead of trying to skip to tomorrow's certainty, trust the uncertainty of today. Instead of rushing towards an answer in the next scene, trust this creative scene of no answers yet. Instead of trying to run towards joy or bliss in the future, trust this present moment of sorrow or doubt or whatever shape the cosmic intelligence is taking. Certainty may or may not come in time. Answers may arrive. Joy may burst forth or not. Thrilling moments may present themselves sooner or later, but don't skip over the treasures of this moment. If answers come, they will emerge from the fertilizer of not knowing, the rich soil of doubt. Joy shows her face, she will emerge from pain that has been touched deeply. If a new life grows, it will grow in the only birthplace there is, now. This moment is the access point, the portal, the gateway of grace, all that you have ever longed for. Don't skip over it in pursuit of tomorrow's imagined glories. notice in myself that I've become increasingly forgetful. I jokingly, but it's really true. I say I have like a 3 day window. That's sort of that's what I've got, and then it disappears. And the other day I was contemplating, what if I could forget the future the same way as I forget the past? I just lose my future, lost my past. That would really be nice. That's the cause of my issues. It's always something about the future.
Ernest, is that my computer or are you breaking off?
I'm breaking up. Okay.
Yeah, for me too.
Yeah, because it's like I can hear a couple of words.
I
Okay.
updated the system hoping that that would work. It didn't, so thank you for letting me know. And I think this works. It's just not as good a computer. Okay, thank you. So never mind. I was just talking. Let's get to business.
No. Sorry, I cannot set up the camera. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to get out and get in. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, no
Again.
problem, Sinai. So, what's going on? How's your homework going? Are you working a little with the toolbox? Are you getting some good feedback? Are you giving some good feedback and getting wiser? What's going on for you guys? And hello, Celia. Welcome aboard.
Yes, I did. We did in our pod. I was the observer, and I felt better prepared than the first time, and yet this was Monday we did in the pod, and yesterday I did the work with a friend, another friend, on my feedback from the pod session because I noticed I wasn't comfortable. I was stressed about hurting somebody or how to present it, and so, but it was really good. I did the work on that after.
And did you check with the person that you gave feedback to how it landed?
No, not yet.
Uh-huh. What particularly did you do or say that made you uncomfortable?
I got feedback myself, the pod before, and I thought that was a good way, just going through what worked for me, what didn't work for me, and I noticed that I could receive that feedback, that I could really feel that, yeah, that's a good idea, and some other things maybe didn't land in me, and I was like, oh, yeah, I'll do it my way, but a bit like that. So it was okay. I could receive it. I could hear it. So I wanted to do like that. But then when I started, I had done a kind of plus side and minus side, what didn't
Yes.
work for me.
Yeah.
When I started with the plus, that was no problem, obviously. But on the other side, it was like, it was so much resistance in me. And I heard how I did it. I heard how I packaged it and really tried to keep this nice feeling that we had. We had a
Yes.
really spacious, lovely feeling in the group, I thought. Yeah, so I did a work, like I said yesterday, about this needing things to be nice and kind and
Yeah,
people to like it.
that's the best way to spoil nice. It's by trying to keep it nice.
It was very stressful.
Very stressful, and suddenly it becomes fake and weird, and nice is just gone, and it's just pretend nice, which is very different. Yeah. At least that's my experience with that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I hated myself during because I thought it was so ridiculous, why don't you just say it? It's no
Yeah.
big deal, It wasn't even mean or anything. It was just
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you didn't say anything during either. You didn't reveal yourself there.
no, I was too
Yeah.
not able.
Not able. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
So that could be interesting because it's the same group next time.
Yeah. So you can do a little reveal.
Yes.
Very good. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. As some of you know, I'm uh, a fan of different forms of honesty practices, including radical honesty and getting real and stuff. And I really like the principle that you know, like when it's time to reveal something or be honest about something and share something, how you know that is when it's in the way of presence. That's when you know that you need to say something, when you notice yourself being somehow not able to connect or not able to be fully present because something is in the way. And for me, this would be an example of that. It sounds like as you're giving the feedback, a part of you is observing it and you have opinions about it and stuff. And it can be really good to just say, oh, wow, I'm noticing this is going on for me in this way. And I'm trying to be nice and I don't want to be nice. And you might even ask, how would you like me to be? What would you prefer? Do you want it direct or should I package it for you and be really nice about it? And then see what the other person says and then trust that. Much simpler. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Annika. Go on.
Yeah, I just want to say that I did discover in the work I did after how this was really, really deep in me from my childhood and how it was. And I could really also like find sympathy for myself, because I could see how it was really, really dangerous to tell the truth and not be kind and nice.
Yes.
So it ended really, really, really well. A good feeling with, like being there with me and just saying the stuff and kind of like acknowledging myself for what I did. I thought it was, I felt good.
Okay, of how you handled giving the feedback in the pod.
Yeah, and being kind with myself for what I did. I could see how it had only with me to do,
Yeah.
It's just my notes and thoughts.
Sure. Okay, good. Well, that's always a nice place to get to with the work. Some self-love and innocence. Yeah. Nice. Thank you. Yeah. Anyone else? Anything you notice? Any questions? Any issues? Anything to share? Yeah. Celia?
Celia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was the client in that session with Annika.
Yeah.
And I thought it was great the way you handled just stepping in and being the feedback person, asking the questions. And as for my session, I felt very supported and your feedback was good, and I can't find anything that I would complain about. So thank you for stepping in.
Thank you, Celia.
Yeah. I noticed I was late for that session too. I am.
Oh, I forgot.
This is very.
Oh my God, you're late again, Celia. Did you notice how
I did it
when you
3
entered the
times.
room? Yeah. Oh my God.
Yep.
Yeah.
A new identity.
Yes, the one who's late.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about it right now? Are you freaking out, or are you comfortable with it, or how are you doing?
It was, and this time change has confused me a lot.
Yeah, so that's the justification or the excuse.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean,
how
on your website, you put today started at 2:00.
Oh,
and it's only 1:17 here. For Eastern time, you said it would start at 2 after the time change. Anyways, so I'm justifying my confusion.
I really hear that. Yeah, and now I'm wondering if I've written something wrong.
Okay. Well,
I want to check that afterwards, and thank you.
yeah.
Um,
Okay.
but my question was, how are you doing with being late? What does it feel like for you to be late today?
Um, Here I go again. And so I'm guilty. And now I'm feeling kind of justified since I mentioned,
Yeah, it feels better now.
how, yeah,
You
yeah.
prop yourself up. Yes, yes. Uh, good. Yeah. And is there anything you want to check with any of us? How we feel about it? Or are you good with just going under the radar?
Um, yeah, is anybody else judging me for it? Um,
Yeah. Is anyone judging Celia for being late? Raise your hands, please.
No, I'm judging you because you are judging yourself, not because you are late. Like I have the thought this is nonsense. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, so you're judging her for making a big deal out of it, but not
Yes,
for being
exactly.
late.
Not for being late. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so you did manage to score
Thank you.
one judgment, Celia, for
Yeah.
I have opposite feelings. I'm happy that she came late. Like I saw this freedom. Oh, she's came late again. So free she is. Yeah.
very good. Thank you, Irina.
Yeah, I thought about maybe I should just watch the recording, but here I am.
Yeah. Well, I'm very happy that you're here, and what happens in me is if I've made a mistake and communicated wrong about it, I'm very happy you found out so that you were here now instead of I personally enjoy your company in the group, so I would be sad if you didn't join. I get to tease you and all kinds of stuff, so
Yeah.
yeah, it would be a great loss to not have you. Yeah. Okay, so does that feel? Do you believe us that we don't judge you for?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And does it feel better?
Yeah.
Wow.
Much better.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Lighter.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, so often we have these worries and these fears into the unknown, and then we can do the work on that. And I would say it's much easier to just ask, like we just did, reveal, ask, and if then someone's judging you, then you have something real to work on. Like here is a person who actually am upset with me or is upset with me, and then I can hear why, and then I can either do the work or agree or whatever. It just makes things much simpler instead of this fictional
Yeah.
universe. Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Celia, for coming and for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah. And tonight I cut you off. You were about to say something to share.
Yes. Now, I mean, I want to. I miss some part of the classes. I have questions, but I feel like I should look at everything, all the material, and ask the questions later, afterwards.
Yes.
Okay, so for the next class, or I will email to you or something.
I suggest you just ask whatever questions you have now, and then.
Okay, okay, I will ask. Okay, then. So you say that sometimes it's good to share with the client how I feel.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess that you make this point, for instance, if I'm a facilitator and I see like the client is going like through guilt or something, then for instance I can say, if I were you in that position, I might feel like you.
That's
Like
one thing you can
it's
do.
like to create connection and empathy, right?
Well, that's one thing you can do. I mean, that's not saying so much, but that's one thing you can do. Yeah. You can say, if I was in your position, then but that's still fictional, right? If I were in your position, then I would feel that way. That's one way of doing it.
Okay, I could say when I had that experience, I felt in that way.
Yes, you can do that. But let me tell you more specifically. I had a client this week, I don't remember when, who was talking a lot like we had a session for, I think it was 2 hours, and the first 40 minutes he was just telling his life story. 40 minutes, and I only asked, oh, so you're based in Berlin? And then he spoke for 40 minutes. And I had this inner dialogue, should I stop him or not? And I kept having this sense I shouldn't stop him. I need to let him talk. And it turned out in the later conversation, he's very used to being stopped by people because they think it's irrelevant. So it meant a lot to him to be allowed to talk. So that I enjoyed having followed that inner impulse. However, what I said to him was that I did experience it as a lot of talking, and it felt like he was going down all these. I explained what it was like for me to be listening to him for 40 minutes. So he got insight into what people experience when he's talking so much. And what gradually evolved was this understanding that actually he was very out of touch with his emotions and his body. And we discussed that that's how we often navigate whether it's relevant or not what we're saying. It's actually by feeling, through empathy and sensing the other and sensing ourselves. That's how we navigate. And he realized that he doesn't have that navigational tool. He only has his mind. So that's why he talks so much. And it became very, very valuable for him. I also said to him, I'm not sure the work is for you. I think I suggested some other ways he could go that were more body-based, because our discussion really indicated that he needed to get much more in touch with that before the work would actually have effect. That would be my guess. He would be way too intellectual. And he was super grateful. And it happens quite often. People say to me, oh, no one has ever said that to me before. Thank you so much. Because I dare to point out what's going on and what my experience is of. So, for instance, right now, Zenaida, I'm talking primarily to you, and it's a little confusing that you're kissing goodbye.
Because I have a kid here that right now, as soon as I start to speak, she starts to speak, okay, and she's alone now. She doesn't understand English, so don't worry about anything that she could hear or anything.
Thank you.
But I tell her, just be patient. I will be with you now. And I ask her if she wants to come here to my lab.
You don't have to.
Sorry.
I was just trying to say that's an example of me telling you what's going on for you.
Okay, yeah, that was.
So just that. And is it over now? Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm present with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's an example of what I do. I might say very directly what I'm experiencing in the situation as kind of a feedback or a mirroring, and then that might lead to some very relevant work of some kind. So yeah, it could be what you suggest, and I just want to push it and say it could also be simply sharing what's going on for me in that moment. And as I say again and again, I find that that it all plays in and becomes relevant to the session. When I trust my inner guidance, then if I speak when that feels right and give feedback or whatever it might be, then that becomes really important. And in this case, it became super important in that session. So that's another example. I don't know if that answers your question. I just wanted to, and I have seen you, Birgit. Yeah, I just wanted to.
Yeah. Well, what comes to my mind is just to be natural. To
Say
be natural and
yes.
be natural and be with the person, and that's it. And just just
Yeah.
okay.
While, of course, knowing that you're the facilitator and they're the client, and we're here for them. Of course. So don't be so natural that you start, telling your life story for 40 minutes. That's probably not what we're looking for, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, if something is really strong in you, bring it. Of course, there is a lot of intelligence going on there. So trust that it has something. And if it doesn't, let after be your teacher and learn to next time, okay, that wasn't a thing that actually worked to bring. So then your system knows more about what to bring and what not to bring.
Okay, thank you. After Bridget, I have another question.
Yes, but it seems, Birgit, you have something about this.
No, it's okay. Zenaida, go on.
No, it's about this or no? Well, no. Okay, what I see your facilitations and everything that we are talking here, and reminds me this internal family system studies, because there are like different voices in us, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have developed this or if you have studied this, or anyone here also. I'm interested to know, because I see these dynamics here, as okay, the one who is talking is your inner child. What is that? Is a sub-personality. So this is curiosity, and also to know if you guys know this or if you use it or anything.
So internal family systems is focused on parts work, right? So it's also called IFS, and it's that we have different parts that show our inner children and protectors and all kinds of parts of us that are in this. And I would say I find it a very valuable approach. I use it. I use inspiration from there. I haven't gone all in because I'm very fond of the work. The work feels a little more open-ended for me than IFS, and it's just a matter of taste. To me, it's just a different, well-functioning system that we can be inspired by. And yeah, of course, we've always been talking about parts in the work. It feels natural. We've all like IFS have grown out of observation, so that's a very good way of holding it, that there are these parts. And yeah. So yes, I enjoy parts work. I sometimes include chair work in what I do. So yeah, so IFS grew out of this chair work and Fritz Perl's original work, and there's a lot of good there as well. So yeah, is that
okay? Yeah. And just the last question, you said, I mean, when we come into a facilitation, I have learned to choose my own situation.
You've learned to
choose my own situation that is parallel to the client situation or has some similarities, or at least is what my mind brings me, right? So I choose my own situation. I'm doing my own work through the questions as well.
I see.
Right?
Okay, so you actually consciously choose a situation that is similar, and then you have that. I see. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and this is what is to simulate, right? When you talk about simulator, you make some reference to this or not?
I don't think I've ever proposed that as a facilitator, you consciously work on your own thing alongside the client.
No?
No, that I don't think I've said that. The simulator, yes, when you're the client, then you go into the simulator and you're like re-experiencing or simulating different situations so that you get an embodied response to what's going on.
When I'm the client, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
as the client.
But also as a facilitator, okay.
No. As a facilitator, I'm just with you on your journey. A lot of things can come up for me, and that's why I can feel empathetic and resonate, and I know where my questions come out of my own experiences sometimes, of course.
Yeah.
But it's not like a conscious thing. No, that's for the client.
All right, okay.
Yeah, so that was good to clear that up. Yeah, thank you, Sinead.
All right, cheers.
Yeah, Birgit.
I kind of forgot what I was exactly going to say. And in general, I do have a problem with that much interfering with bringing in that many aspects into the work. With the question 1 and 2, in question 3, in question 4, I feel it's too much. And I listened to the last 2 sessions, and I was really getting agitated and thinking, sometimes I believe it's so overstepping and so meddling that I would love to be more reminded of that the client is knowing his or her path, and that the wisdom comes out of the client. And it doesn't need me to give my stance on whether one should have an affair or not, or whether one is looking good in the age of whatever. I listened to that and I thought, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? And I can see that you bring in a lot of stuff, but for me, it really leaves the path of the work.
Yeah.
And I feel it's meddling, and it's like taking me as a facilitator. I'm taking myself to, and I can work all that, I know that, and I'm taking myself, everything that arises in me. Yes, everything that arises in me while I facilitate somebody, I notice and I see what does it mean to me. And I do not believe that I need to tell my client what my stance on whatever is. I mean, I facilitated people thinking Bill Gates would inject them with chips while getting the vaccine. And I don't need to say that I believe in vaccines. I can just hold the space and let them explore. And maybe in the turnarounds, I can, if they want to and I feel compelled to, I can bring something in. But I don't believe in bringing all my stuff into the facilitation. I mean, I do, of course, anyhow, but I think it's such an, I don't know if the English word is invasive, but it's like, it's so much that I'm sitting there.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised, let me put it that way.
Right. Uh-huh. Yeah, good. So I don't think I would ever say to a client, if they're working on vaccines like that, then I go completely into their world and I'm with them in that. I wouldn't, if I have a personal opinion about what they're working on, I would never, never is not true. It doesn't feel relevant for me to share my political view or my view on some conspiracy theory or something. That doesn't feel relevant. Unless it's in the way of me facilitating them, then it would be honest for me to bring it and say, I'm having huge problems here. Maybe we can't do this together because I'm really impacted by what you're doing. But other than that, I wouldn't do that. So first of all, let me say, great. I mean, you stay with the more strict or pure, let's call it that, version of the work. That's perfectly fine. I'm not here to convince you about anything else. But to clear up some misunderstandings, I do want to say, if you think that my position is that we should talk about that in a vaccine facilitation, that I would bring my own view on vaccines, then there's something I haven't been clear enough about. Go ahead, Birgit.
What I'm referring to, and of course it has been a different setting, is that when you were facilitating Verena, and I heard that she was like torn between it's a virus and should I do that to that wife and whatever, and you brought in that point of view, your point of view, if you would do something that you don't want to, I don't know how to phrase it in English. You do something that you don't want to have done to yourself. You wouldn't do it to somebody else.
Yeah.
And if I would share something like that, it might be in the turnarounds, but it's not in the beginning. And my impression was that it wasn't a moral impact, but it impacted her way of moving along. And I would have liked more questions to have her find her way instead of bringing in that point of view that you obviously had, but I thought would lead heavily into one direction. And I don't, it's like kind of, I missed that session. So here I am doing the same as Sunita just said, asking stuff about other questions, which is kind of, I should have been there and I wasn't, so sorry for that. But I just needed to share that I was sitting and watching these two sessions, and I was at certain points and Verena, I truly believe that telling somebody she's looking good when she's working on I need to look good is overstepping. And you asked Ernest what he thinks, and he thought it was perfectly fine, and he was thinking about plastic surgery and whatever himself. And I do not believe that it's our job to comment on something like that when a client is in her work. So giving room to that and even say it's perfectly fine is for me something. I don't want to be facilitated by somebody who comments on if I work on something that I need to look good, that tells me for my 63 I look fabulous. That's not my point. So I was just like, I was listening to that session and I was really torn. And it's kind of, it's like 2 weeks ago, so I watched it 2 days ago. So for you all, it's like you have been in these discussions, and here I am wrapping it all up. But it just needed to be said. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, so you're bringing up several things. Now, as I said, I have a 3-day window, so I'm a little challenged with the details. I will say about the first thing you said. It sounds like I have said that I wouldn't do to someone else, like I wouldn't treat someone else in a way that I wouldn't want to be treated myself. Is it something like that I said? So for me, there is an important when I bring this stuff, I don't bring it as my opinion to share my opinion. I bring it because my experience is that when you treat others in a way that's different from how you want to be treated, then that's painful. So for me, it's part of the inquiry it's a way to point the client to something that I believe is an observation that might be helpful for them about their own process. It's not just that I'm bringing whatever thoughts I have. I'm bringing it for a reason that has to do with supporting the client in their inquiry. Does that make sense? So there is a distinction between my personal opinion about vaccines and then sharing something. And it's true that it does perhaps. I think what you're saying is that what I brought sort of shaped the direction of where the client goes, right? And I'm aware of that. And for me, it's like if they are there with me, if I'm facilitating them, there is a potential for bringing a lot more if I bring more of myself. Like we have to compare to a situation where you just facilitate yourself, right? That's when you're alone in your work. If I only ask the questions, I would say the yellow card, or even with a few of the old sub questions, if I just do that, you could have done that yourself. The only thing it adds, and it matters, but the only thing it adds is me holding some space, emotional space for you, and holding the structure so you can let go a little of the structure, right? So there's a witness to your process. What I say is a lot is left out when, as a facilitator, we don't take advantage of the perspectives that the facilitator can add to the process. So I'm not bringing any random thing. I'm bringing things that I believe, feel, sense, trust, think will add something deeper or richer to the client's journey. That's what's driving me. It's not just my opinions, right? So now that puts us in difficult or dangerous territory, we can say, because how do I know? Like the safest thing is to just keep myself out of it, because what's a projection? What's actually helpful? Do they even need my help? And so on and so forth. But the idea that, I mean, I definitely believe in trusting the client's own wisdom. I'm totally with you on that. And I want to hold the space where there's all the space for that wisdom. And I personally believe I do that because my own experience is when I bring things, it's done in a way where I'm able to let go of it at any time if the client goes in a different direction. But it does become a co-creation, which means that my input does impact where the client goes. But that's why they can go to places when they work with me that they wouldn't have gone to on their own. And to my mind, that's why they want me to facilitate them. Otherwise, why would they want a facilitator? Other than having a buddy that keeps them accountable so that, okay, we've agreed to meet at 8, so now I'm going to do my work. But to me, that's fine, but we are missing something. Like we are not missing, like we are losing some opportunities. We're missing some opportunities if we only, in my perspective, do it like that. Does that?
And maybe it's not bringing in your perspective. Maybe it's the way, instead of co-creating and asking a question that might lead to the client finding out it's painful, which I believe is so much stronger than me saying, I believe it's painful. So it's like yeah, I'll think about it.
Sure. And again, you're completely willing, you're completely welcome to any other perspective. For me, the only thing I would like is to leave you with an understanding of, like, not a misunderstanding of what's going on. That's basically the only thing. And I do hear that asking the question, I think at some point, what I discovered was there were times as a facilitator when I was asking questions, but I had an agenda with my question, right? As you say, it's much stronger for the client to find out themselves. So let me ask this question so that they can find out.
But either they do or they don't.
Exactly.
Perfectly fine. Yeah.
But I could feel in me, okay, I want them to find out something here. Like, I noticed that. And that's when I started reflecting and saying, well, actually, why not just say it? And then they can do with that what they want. So this shows up for me very strongly. And it doesn't feel like I think, it just feels like this is relevant to what we're investigating here. So instead of trying to keep it as questions, I decided I'm just going to say, to me, it's like this, or I experienced that once, or when I hear you, it sounds like this, but actually that, or whatever it is. Just as I often say, just like in the turnarounds, when we offer our turnaround suggestions, it's actually exactly the same principle. I bring something I see, and then you do with it if it works.
Whatever you want to, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But if it becomes pushing, or if it becomes leading, or if it becomes demanding, or if it's just me putting my own shit on you, then I agree. Of course, that's not helpful. And if you start bringing some of this, then it will happen sometimes. And then you just have to walk it back or own it or be like, okay, that was a little too much of me. All right. I'm still not going to go back to the completely safety of only asking the 4 questions and turnarounds. That's too little I'm offering. Yeah. My sense is that you understand what I'm saying. You don't necessarily agree, but you understand what I'm saying. Is that correct?
Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I noticed myself noticing things about what you said, Birgit, and I noticed myself holding it back because of the conversation we just had. So not giving you some feedback I have, and I think that's an example of what happens, and I think it's a shame. Um, so yeah, and that's what I'm just noticing in me, and still I'm experiencing you as feeling let's stop here, and so I'm going to stop here. But that's, yeah. So thank you, Birgit, for bringing that, and I am aware of the things you point out, and it is a fine balance. Yeah. Okay. Do you feel emptied out, Birgit? Is it enough for you what you've said? Now I've spoken, but did you?
Yeah, it's perfectly fine, and I think it's like we could go on, and it would be very interesting, but in the interest of time and the course, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah. Thank you. And I want to say I am aware of what I'm doing when I'm in the trainer role. So I only stay in a discussion as long as I believe it's relevant for everyone. So I'm engaging in this because I think it's important, and it sheds light on some stuff that is important for the training I'm doing. So don't worry about time. I'll handle it. And okay, thank you. Yeah. What does that mean, Verena?
I totally agree on that.
On
So
what?
I found it really very valuable what you both
Yes.
were talking now. So it was absolutely fitting into why we are here.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Verena. Yeah. Good. I want to check in with you, Irina. Birgit said something about you and what you had said and stuff like that. How is that landing with you? Is there anything you want to say? Are you good?
About the facilitation,
No,
2
Irina.
weeks.
Irina.
Oh, sorry.
Irina,
Okay,
not
I
Verena.
always hear my name.
I can hear that, and Irina doesn't hear hers. I think I'm saying it wrong somehow. So, did you hear what I said, Irina?
And I think
No.
I said Verena.
So it's probably because I have to be more Russian on the R. Irina. Irina.
I said something about Verena.
Oh, I see. Oh, sorry. I see. Okay. So, retake. Irina, you're out. Verena. Birgit said apparently something about you. Do you feel is there anything you want to say or are you good with that? What I just said to Irina. I want to check in with you.
Yes, you know, after this facilitation we had, and it's really, I would say, 4 weeks ago. It was even before we went to Barcelona, and yeah, I can absolutely feel, Birgit, that it could give the impression that I was kind of influenced. And after the facilitation, I also had to take a moment for myself to find out, hey, whoa, did I want to go there really by myself, or was I guided by you? I say it a little bit like this. And I couldn't find out, so I could just leave it like that. But I was dealing with it too a little bit. Yeah. And I am somebody who is taking something that comes from my facilitator or discussion partner very quickly as something I have to take very serious, and then I go with it. And that's a risk that I lose myself and go with the other one. That's really something. Yeah. And anyway, I kept a good feeling with it, even if I was manipulated maybe, or even not. But I had a good experience going into this direction one time. So I could explore there something where I would not have gone if I was stayed on my spot. Yeah.
Mhm. Thank you, Verena. And I'm thoroughly confused now because I thought it was about the plastic surgery thing and someone saying that Celia looked good at her age or something like that. And that's what I felt was. So I've completely lost all direction in this. Yeah, Verena?
It were two things. So as I understood, one facilitation you have done with me,
Uh-huh.
where it was about my affair, and this was 4 weeks ago, and I would say 2 weeks ago there was the thing with Celia, where somebody, and I think it was me, said, "Wow, you're looking good for in this age. Wow," something like that, and I think she mentioned these two situations.
I agree. And was that thing with Celia, was that during a facilitation you said that?
I said it
Yes.
afterwards when the facilitation was over.
That's how I remembered it exactly. Yeah, yeah. So it's not so it wasn't part of a facilitation that you commented on that. It was in our sort of relaxed talk afterwards. Yes. Is that also what you saw, Birgit? You're the one with the freshest view on it.
It was afterwards, and then I remember it maybe, and maybe my memory doesn't even go back to 2 days with COVID. But and I remember Verena checking in with you whether she was overstepping or not.
Yeah, But that was not about a facilitation. That was
No, no, it's just in
communication.
general. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, but
We're all on the same page.
okay, good. Yeah, because I didn't understand why I would have said that it was okay in a facilitation. That was what was confusing for me, because I wouldn't have thought that that was a good thing to say in a facilitation. So I was surprised I had said that. But if she was checking in whether it was okay afterwards, then I'm very liberal with that. Like, yeah, you're a human being. You have your reactions. You say your things. I'm not going to say, no, you can't say that. Yeah, and then I had my reaction about my thoughts that I had held back, and then we checked with Celia, and Celia was so graceful about it, and it just, I thought it was a beautiful interaction. So for me, it's human beings being human with each other, and I think that's such an important thing, instead of the robot approach where we become inhuman with each other. So now I understand better, because I was surprised that I had said that during a facilitation that was okay. I didn't, yeah. So in the classroom, yeah, sure, you can say anything in this classroom, yeah. In my opinion, if it's real. Yeah. Okay. Let's leave that behind. I notice you're unmuted, Celia. Do you want to say something, or is that just because you're
No.
on? Yeah. Okay. Good. Yes. First, I'll just check. Are there anyone else with some impacts that they want or need to share about this conversation, or should we move? Or can we move on? So the actually, maybe let's just do that thing where we just take a breath. So let's clean the slate. Just breathe out and then breathe in, deep breath in and out and in again. And out. And one last time. In. And exhale with a sound. So the title of today's class session is Trusting the Unknown. And this is relevant to the conversation we just had. And it's an important theme for me when we facilitate, to trust the unknown. And here's the background. If I say the box doesn't fit in the suitcase, it's too small, right? Then you immediately understand what I'm saying. The box doesn't fit in the suitcase, it's too small. You understand that. I can also say the box doesn't fit in the suitcase, it's too big. And you would also understand that, right? It's very clear. The box doesn't fit in the suitcase, it's too big because the box is too big. The box doesn't fit in the suitcase, it's too small because the suitcase is too small. You understand both statements. We think that when we hear someone say something like that, the box doesn't fit in the suitcase, it's too big, that the meaning is in the words. Like, it's very obvious that that's what's meant. These are the words coming out of my mouth. But actually, there is a gigantic process going on to translate this sentence into something meaningful, which we can hear when we can hear there are actually two different versions that mean the same thing. So there must be some kind of processing going on. And even more than that, that's just the words, but even knowing what the words mean and going down to the level of actually it's just sound waves, or it's waves in the air that hits your eardrum and makes it move and sends some kind of nervous signal to some part of your brain that then translate that movement into sound and makes that sound into words and make those words mean something, and then turn that into meaning that's relevant to the context. That's a very, very complicated process. And we are doing that kind of stuff all the time. You have a gigantic unconscious part of you, which is running the show. It's translating everything for you. It's getting you to understand. In this case, many of us are speaking a language that's our second language or even third language, and we are still getting it. At the same time, your heart keeps beating. You keep breathing, your liver is working, you're digesting. There's so much going on. And I'm talking east and west and north and south, and you're making sense of it all. You're taking notes. Even just moving the hands so you can write the words in the right way is a super complex thing that we just do because our unconscious is running it. Our unconscious part, to me, it's like if our conscious part is the size of this, right? That's the size of my conscious mind. In comparison, our unconscious is the size of the solar system, right? That's the difference in size, we can say, or capacity between my conscious and my unconscious. And one of the things we do is we sometimes think with my conscious part, I'm going to run the whole world, which is completely ridiculous, right? Because there's so much we pick up and understand about each other and about life that is run through the unconscious. And I believe that I don't think I've ever met anyone who hasn't at some point experienced that experience of they've been wondering about a problem or something, looking for a solution to something. And then one day in the shower, 3 days later, or in the middle of dinner or out on a walk, suddenly the answer just appears to them. It's like, a so-called eureka moment, right? I suddenly get it. But I was thinking about something completely different. And the simpler version is when I can't remember the name of some actor or actress, and I'm like, yeah, it's that woman who's in that movie with that guy who's also in 4 Weddings and a Funeral with the sheep. And what's her name? It's that thing where she's a paint. No, she's not a paint. She's an actress, and I can't remember the name, and it's so annoying. And then an hour later, suddenly it appears to me, it's Julia Roberts, right? And it just comes after an hour. Suddenly I have it. Can you recognize some of those experiences? Yeah, that's because our unconscious is working on it, right? We've sent the question in, and then we're doing some kind of other thing for 3 days. And then when the answer is there, it's brought into our conscious awareness, but it's actually been worked over in the unconscious part of us for quite a while, like a computer running all its things and all its algorithms. And then eventually it has a result and it presents that to us. So when I talk about trusting the unknown, what I'm talking about is trusting that there is this huge intelligence that's really running the show. And one thing is we can say the universe, whatever that is, depending on our sort of religious or pseudo-religious beliefs, is holding us. But more specifically, we are held by our own unconscious. And we are registering so many things and understanding so many things unconsciously. So when I'm facilitating, for example, when I say trust the unconscious, that's exactly an example of that. When something comes up for me, I'm trusting that there is an intelligence that brings that to my awareness, because why would it come up otherwise? It's because there is a relevance. I know why we are here. You know why we are here. So when it comes up, it's because it's relevant to this thing. Does that make sense as like a logics? And I claim that we can lean into that in fact, when Katie says it's not our business, like even my life is not my business, nothing is really my business. And she says, when it moves, I move, right? That's one of her descriptions of what's going on. Another way of saying that is she completely trusts whatever comes up in the moment and goes with that. When it moves, I move. And I think it's the same thing we can do during facilitation. So I'm sort of surrendering myself to the universe, or to my own unconscious, or to our shared unconscious in the space of relating that's going on, because we are pack animals and we notice so many things about each other. So as I say, when something comes up, I'm going to go with it. Now, as I just said to Birgit, sometimes that's going to lead me into trouble, right? Sometimes when it comes up, it's really because I just have a huge investment in it. And I'm actually bringing it because it's really for me, and I'm just projecting on my client. And if I remain aware, then I will notice that, and that's why I say let after be your teacher, right? So if something comes up for you, my suggestion is bring it and see what happens. And if it goes to hell, then you will have learned something about what to bring and what not to bring. So you're sort of training yourself to get more and more sensitive to when is it a clean signal about here is something important to bring, and when is it just me wanting to look good, for example, right? And sound intelligent or whatever it is. If I let after be my teacher, I will gradually hone my skill at knowing what is a relevant signal and what is an irrelevant signal. And that's a huge part of how I facilitate. And you've all seen me do that, I think, several times. It's like, I don't even know why I'm going to bring this now, but it just feels important, and therefore I say it. And in my experience, it leads to good places 99 or 95% of the time. And even when it doesn't, if I handle that well, it'll become a good place anyway. So I call it follow the energy, right? If the client's talking about something and you can feel, okay, that's something just bing, like why did she say that? Like, what's that about? Then I'm going to ask about that. I'm going to ask a question, like a sub question, but it doesn't have to be one of the orthodox or structured sub questions. It can just be, my interest is piqued by something, so I'm going to ask about that. Because I'm using myself as a detector of where is there something that's off. To me, it's like hearing, when you press two notes on a piano, like one of the black and one of the white that are right next to each other, and it has this sound. That's the feeling I sometimes get when a client is talking about something. I can just feel, it feels in me like, oh, there's something off here. It's not in tune. There's something. So then I'll become curious about it. And I might not even know anything about what's going on, but I will ask about it because I get that sense. I follow the energy. Another way to say it is follow your gut, right? If something comes up, trust it and go with it. And I definitely agree. Most of the time, the best way is to ask curious questions about it. Not assume that you know what's going on, but ask about it. And sometimes what comes up for me, and that's what I discussed with Birgit, is just a strong sense that now I should bring this experience, or now I should mirror this thing, whatever it might be. Questions or comments about that? Does that make sense? Do you understand the point? You may agree or disagree. It's two different things. One, do you understand? And two, do you agree or disagree?
I use the same thing now working as a pediatrician, that and I check that, like, if it goes well, like it's almost always when I meet parents and children that we laugh together and kind of connect. And to me, that lands well. And afterwards they say thank you. And I feel like, yes, we got connection, something happened, and I gave them something. And my thing is, I want them to take care of their children better. And I always offer that. Yeah. But it's always like you say, trial and error, because I read how the body language and I see they get more and more alive in our conversation. So it's like, yes, I get what you say.
Yeah. So that's one example of how you do it. You move with that in the situation. Yeah. Other comments on this? And it really is simply just trusting the unknown. Like, I don't know what this is. I don't know where it's leading. I don't know what it's about, but I'm going to trust it and lean into it. We can call it guiding angels. We can call it my unconscious, my subconscious, my intuition. We can use any word we like, but this is something that you can get better and better at using. And it starts with trusting this unknown factor, which for me is very simple to just say, it's my unconscious saying, hey, ding, 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 something's going on here. Let's go with that. So I invite you to experiment with that in the classes here, as you are doing your pod work, that you experiment with taking some risks, right? This is a safe space for you to take some risks and see what happens when you follow your gut, instead of playing it safe. You can play it safe with your clients if you want to, but when you're just in this space, experimental space, see what happens when you actually, if you have a strong sense, if you go with it. Yeah. So that would be my strong advice or invitation or suggestion, that you do this while we're in this class. And always, of course, if you're in doubt about something, you ask. It's their work, right? You can always just, I'm getting this, I don't know, would it be relevant to go this way? Or this keeps coming up for me. Would you like to look more into that? And if they say, no, that doesn't feel, then you just leave it. It's easy. That was just some noise. Or maybe I saw something that they can't see. It doesn't matter. If in doubt, ask. But bring it and see what happens. Trust that energy. And then I had an exercise about that, and we are going to skip that because we had other exciting conversations going on. So if you're all good with that, and you feel you understand, I suggest we move on to doing some live facilitations and feedback rounds. So last chance right now to ask about that or get more info on that. All right. So how do we want to do this? Let's start with me facilitating someone. So does anyone want to be client? And be what do you call it? Exposed to my potential leading. Fatma. Yes. Let's go.
You had two volunteers. Lotta,
Yes,
do you want to go?
Lotta has been client with me once before, and you haven't.
Um,
So that's why I picked you.
Go for it.
And thank you for being mindful of that. All right. So I notice in me, I've just been using a lot of words first in the conversation about the other thing, and now in explaining this. So I'm a little like, oh, I'm a little hot in the face and a little geared up. So I'm just going to take a moment.
Yeah, that's helpful for me too. I have no idea what I'm going to do.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't prepare anything.
So whenever you're ready, you can share what comes up for you. And this could be an experiment. Trust the unknown. Just let yourself be guided, not by your mind so much as by just a sense of there's something here, and then see what happens if you start bringing that, if it feels relevant. Whatever shows up.
Yeah. Are you ready?
Yes. Thank you.
I've just started a new job and I'm in a place where I thought it was where I'm discovering that it's a lot more complex. It's a lot more confusing than I thought. And so I'm experiencing like overwhelm and I need to get the fuck out of here. I don't think I can do this. Too much. So maybe we can start there.
Yeah. And why are you not out of there yet? If that's what you believe you need to do.
I guess there's a part of me that believes that this is how it is. This is what learning looks like. jumping into into the deep water and just seeing. Yeah, why am I not out of there? And also I think that my mind is making it a lot more complicated. Like I think I think too much.
Complicated about the work or complicated about getting out of there?
Complicated about the work. It's like my mind thinks I need to understand everything, and maybe I don't.
Yeah.
So that's why I haven't said I gotta get out
Uh-huh.
yet.
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I hear there's a part that's like, it's too much, it's overwhelming,
Mhm.
and believes it needs to understand everything and can, and wants to get out of there.
Yes.
And then another part that's more like, well, uh, maybe you don't need to understand everything. Maybe it's
Let's see.
that's just how it is. Let's wait and see, and yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. And as you're describing it, I'm noticing like that helps me see that the overwhelmed part is little girl.
Hmm.
It's funny how quickly it goes there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little girl. New country, new language, new people. Everything's overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, what came up for me was it's too much.
Mhm. Yeah.
Would you like to go with that one, or it's overwhelming, or
Yeah, it's too much is good.
it's too much? Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So you find a specific moment where you really believe this, it's too much.
Uh, as a little girl or here now?
Here now, yeah, here now.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm speaking, yesterday I spoke to the executives, and today I was speaking to the people that do the work. And one of them, so I had like 3 or 4 meetings and speaking to these people, especially to a woman. Her name is Dawn, and she's telling me about all the analysis that she does. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like telling you about what they're doing to sort of onboard you. Is that the process? Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, that's exactly right. You got it.
And Dawn is explaining about all of the analysis she does, and you,
Yep.
it's too much. This is too much for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh my God. Yep.
Yeah. So in that situation with Dawn, it's too much. It's too much. Is that true?
Yeah.
And how, in what way is it too much?
I am trying to understand everything she's describing.
Mhm.
And it's the sensation in my chest. I'm like, oh my God, that's for me an indicator that I believe it's too much.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And maybe it is true that it's too much to understand everything she's saying. I mean, that could just,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's what I saw. I was kind of thinking about like, yes, no, I can see no, it's not true. But I was going down my yes and what I was believing, and I'm believing that I need to understand everything that she's doing and
Yeah.
how she got there.
Yeah.
And yeah,
So you need to understand everything she's doing.
yeah,
Is that true? All the stuff she's explained to you, you need to understand it.
no. She does. Yeah, and I see how I can ask her to give me the one sentence answer if I have questions and around what she does. Yeah, that brings me relief. Like, yeah, whatever, you can do all these complicated things and I don't need to understand it. I just need to know who to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's it like to feel that relief? How does it feel in you?
I can breathe. I notice how I can breathe. There's back in my body and safe,
Yes.
relaxed. Connected. And like those, yeah. And I see her, I can see her, and I'm connected. I experience gratitude for what she does. Mhm.
Yeah. And then try to go back and look at when you believe you need to understand all these things she explained and feel how that impacts you in the situation. What do you notice? I need to understand it.
There's anxiety. There's this tightness in my chest. Shallower breath. I'm fearful. And I can see that I am trying to like live in her shoes. Like I'm trying to occupy her her
Yeah.
her job. And it really feels like I'm kind of trying to be her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's awful. I hate it.
Mm.
I don't want to be there.
Mm. Yeah, I need to understand what she's explaining. And you go into her shoes, and it's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really, yeah, I experience the pain. It's not the kind of work I enjoy.
Mm.
I really don't like it. And there's the fear of thinking that I need to understand, and yeah, it's like a kind of way I'm forcing myself into this. I am forcing myself into,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you
Yeah, it's really
have a
neat
sense
to
why?
see.
Do you have a sense why you do that? Why you force yourself into this? Why you believe you need to understand this?
It's vague, but I think it's like, I think I need to help her.
Mm.
Yeah, and my job is to bring everything together, to make it simple and clear. So I can see how that's what I believe.
Mm.
And so I force myself to be in that position. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Oh, that's really good to see.
Yeah. And if it's okay with you, I would like to round it off here.
It's wonderful. Great. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Mhm.
Nice. Yeah. And we can return to you. You'll get a little moment of peace now, Fatma, and then I'll just talk to the gang. Yeah, so what did you notice? What stood out for you? Any questions or comments? Do share.
I thought it was, I didn't hear you say so much the questions, is it true and how do you react? But I also thought it was a really, really connection and very soft. And I saw a lot of things happening. So it was beautiful to watch.
Thank you, Lotta. Yeah, Cecilia, you're muted. You're muted, Celia.
Yeah. And I found that your facilitation was so simple
Mhm.
and direct, and Fatma just followed along. And then the lights came on.
Mhm.
It was beautiful to see.
Yeah, so Fatma in this case shows up as someone who's not using a lot of words and just really taking it one step at a time, which allows me to go into the same mode and also just like there's plenty of spaciousness and all of that also in how Fatma brings herself. So that made it I would say easy to hold that space, right? It depends very much on the client what kind of holding they need, right? If they talk a lot and go in many directions, it can become more dialogue based. And in this case, it can be this very clean, contemplative journey. And you can't make your clients do that. You can invite it, you can be in a way that sort of makes it possible, and they'll do what they do, and yeah, yeah, yeah. And I agree. I had the same experience, Celia. Thank you. Yeah. No, Mira.
I just want to thank you, Fatma, because the topic you have chosen was very relative to me, and I did my work along. So thank you very much. Yeah, it was easier to follow and to do it. So thank you, both of you.
Yeah. So let me. Oh, Verena, go ahead.
Yeah, I noticed that you moved from it's too much to I have to understand everything.
Yes, I need.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I need to understand everything.
Yes.
So yeah, sometimes you start somewhere and then you realize, or it's in the air somehow, that something else is even more important.
Exactly.
And it happened very, very quickly, and you almost didn't notice it, but if you listened well, then you could notice it.
Yes. Yeah, so let me just walk through it, because there were some interesting points that I would like to highlight. So first of all, as we begin, I notice that I'm in a high tempo, so I feel a need to slow down. And I take responsibility for that and own that and say, I need to slow down. Instead of saying, would you like to slow down, right? I say, I want to slow down. And then Fatma says, oh, that's nice. I also need that. So that's the first thing. I take care of that. So, and then we have this example of, I don't know what to talk about. Well, trust the unconscious. So let's just step into the unknown here. Well, there's something about the job. I find it confusing. And she says, I want to get the fuck out. And then I ask, and we are still in that first meditation of what is the belief we're looking for. I say, so why haven't you gotten out? That's because that's always interesting when someone says, I want to do something and they're not doing it, right? Then you know there's something going on. So that piques my curiosity. And we talk about that. And she says, it's too much, and I need to understand everything. Those two things come up there. And then I mirror back to her. I hear that there are two parts, like one part that wants to get out and one part that wants to stay. And I say that. And she says, that helps me see it clearer, what's going on for me. And you notice this little girl that shows up. And it's very clear that, okay, that's the interesting thing here. It's not so much getting out of there, it's wanting to that it's overwhelming or that it's too much. And again, that's not rule-based, that's just very clear in the energy, so to speak, that's where the energy is to do that work. And I think that's clear for both of us, Fatma. So we just gravitate towards that, and this situation comes up with Dawn. And I ask question 1, and you say yes. It's too much. And that's where I ask Verena, in what way is it too much? Because it's too much is somewhat large and vague, right? We are still honing in on it. And the answer is, well, I need to understand everything that she says. And when I imagine that, I can feel, okay, that would be too much. Like if I have to understand everything that Dawn tells me, that's too much. And that's why I say, yeah, so maybe it just is too much, right? That's actually not a belief, that's an observation. So there must be something underlying, and that's why, Verena, I go for that other thing. It's actually true that it's too much. So what is driving a situation that puts Fatma in a position where she's putting herself into something that's too much? And that then brings, I need to understand everything she explains. And then we go with that, and then I want to point out that Fatma slides into, when she's seeing that, she slides into question 4, if you notice that. She suddenly feels relief, and it's nice to notice that I need to understand her. No, I don't. She actually goes into, I don't need to understand her, and there's relief, but we've skipped question 3. But I follow her because that's what the unconscious does. That's what's brought up here. That's the structure that arises naturally or organically. And that's another way to follow the unknown. Follow what arises organically, right? Maybe they sometimes go to the turnarounds, or sometimes they go back to question 1. Just go with them, because there's an intelligence at work here. Fatma knows the process. I know the process. We can go with whatever shows up for her. So we're in question 4 for a bit. And then I bring you back to question 3, Fatma. So what's it like when you actually believe it, that you need to understand everything? And that's when you start talking about forcing yourself into her shoes. And that piques my curiosity. And again, that's just a sense, right? Why are you forcing yourself? What's something must be going on to make you force yourself? It's like what comes up for me. So I ask you, why is that? What's going on for you that makes you do that? And you say, I need to help her. And then you suddenly realize this thing that where we ended was, I need to make it simple and clear for everyone. That's my job, and that makes me force myself. And that was obviously a nice insight. And if we hadn't stopped in that situation, I think I would have left that and gone back to, oh, so you need to understand everything she explains, because now we have understood and uncovered the underlying structure here. So now you would be able to turn that around very quickly. It's already happened, I imagine, just by seeing that other thing, immediately you see all of that. So we would finish that, and then I would go back to that deeper cut, which is, so this thing, tell me about what it is about your job. This is your job to make them, this thing that you can't control is what you're supposed to do. That can't possibly be true, that's your job. And then we would dive into that and explore more. So that's Verena, in terms of shifting between these things, it's following that flow of what feels more important, what feels more true. But it doesn't mean we necessarily have to go with it. We can even go back and then finish something and then return to whatever is there. But what's guiding it is this very organic flow. And I hope you could sense that it was a very organic flow that was going throughout this facilitation. Because Fatma moves so easily herself that I just had to tag along and give some input now and then. Yeah. So that's a breakdown for what it's worth. Any questions, thoughts, or comments on that?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
How did you keep track of the breakdown? Did you write this down?
Yeah, I have some notes here.
You were making notes as you were going along? Okay, I thought you were going straight from memory.
Yeah.
I thought
Because
you're
I'm
going straight from memory, then you have
I'm
pretty good.
human, and I can repeat every chess move in some kind of. No, I would like to. It would have been lovely to hold on to that fantasy, but I'm too honest to do that. No, I take some when I know I'm going to use it for this. I note the whole thing down. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I experienced you as very gentle. At the beginning, taking care of yourself helped me allow the nervousness of being in the spotlight and having to know what to work. Mm-hmm. So it gave me enough time to just be with that, and then the invitation to find what's present. It just helped everything appear by itself. Exactly. There was nothing.
Yeah.
So that's very lovely. And yeah, I didn't know.
And I'm just going to say, if I'm trusting the unknown, right?
Yeah.
Letting it appear by itself. That's exactly a demonstration. Yeah. And there is intelligence. It's going to come up. Of course, anything could have come up. This came up. There is a plan. And go on. Yeah.
Yes. And so the whole time it was trusting the unknown. I didn't know where this was going to go, where you were going to go. You were taking it in areas that I didn't know. There was a couple of things where I thought, interesting question. I didn't even consider that. It's not how I would have facilitated myself.
Yeah.
Written the worksheet, but it was profound. Yeah, the questions around like, why haven't you left? Yeah, good question to see that. And then to see the little girl, new country, new language, new people. She's she's always there, always running the show. So it's nice to see her. Yeah, and then what we ended up with this the motive to make everything clear.
Yes.
Awesome to see that.
Yes. That felt
Yeah.
like a big deal. Yeah.
It was big. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that helped me. And yeah, this is too much. I have to understand everything. That's my MO. That's usually where I go when there's new things going on. So I'm familiar with the work that follows that.
Yeah.
So I was so grateful that you didn't take me down to question
Yes.
3 on all of them.
Yeah.
But just enough for me to get an understanding
Yeah.
to watch the pattern.
Yes.
Hmm.
Good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm. And just to be clear, I was exactly as surrendered as Fatma was. Like I also didn't have any clue where this was going to go. I'm not at all in where are we going. I'm only in what is relevant to us now, or where's my curiosity, where's their energy right now. So when I asked why haven't you left, like why are you still there, that came out of just my own curiosity. It wasn't a plan to then uncover something. It was just, oh, interesting. Let's see where that takes me. So that's really that sense of trusting the unknown. Yeah. Thank you, Fatma, for this mirroring or response. Yeah. Any other thoughts or observations on this? And I want to reiterate, to me, the work are these 5 meditations, right? Finding out what we're working on. Is it true? And can you absolutely know that it's true? That's the second one. And then question 3, how do you react is one. Who would you be without is one. And then the turnarounds is one. And it's these 5 things. And we can move back and forth between them. There's no, but there is an overall structure to it, but we can move back and forth. And that's the only structure I really move with here. It's just knowing that there are these different spots where we can go in and out and gradually like uncover what's going on. So that's how it's the work, even if the order is not the order, or we go into a strange question or whatever. It's still the work because we're in one of these 5 meditations. Yeah. And in this case, we didn't get to the turnarounds, obviously. But okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Fatma. So there's time for a quickie, and it's always valuable. So I would love if 2 of you would step up and be, I want to be client, I want to be facilitator. And then we watch that for some minutes, and then we comment on it. Anyone up for any role? Annika.
I want to be client.
Thank you. Who wants to facilitate Annika? Celia.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay.
I'm going to.
So,
1 second, Celia. Just 1 second. I'm just. There we go.
Okay. So, Annika, what is your situation?
Yeah, just gonna take them away. I came to think of a job situation yesterday. I'm in this room, and there is a woman coming in, and I have the thought she doesn't like me. And during this, it's not super strong, but it stays with me for 1.5 hours during this session.
Okay. So where exactly were you? Where was she? Can you ground yourself in the situation?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sitting at one end of this room and she's opposite, like in the other end of this room.
Okay. Is she standing, sitting?
Sitting.
Okay. So there you are, just yesterday with this woman. You're both sitting in this room. You have the thought, she doesn't like me. So is that true, Annika? She doesn't like you?
Oh,
Where did the no come from?
I have absolutely no proof. I don't know. I just,
Thank you.
it's not a truth. I saw that.
And how do you react? What happens inside you when you believe the thought, she doesn't like me?
Yeah, I don't like her. I feel this like defense attitude in me, like I'm constantly aware of how I express myself, how I'm yeah, I'm really self-aware, and I see how I'm accusing her, like for not liking me mentally, you know, like I'm yeah, and I have a tension. I feel a tension in my body constantly. Not super strong, but it's there. And I'm aware, even when I speak with others or when I'm quiet, I'm aware of her sitting there not liking me. Yeah, and my mind also goes to other situations in the past where I met her. I'm trying to figure out why she doesn't like me. We had an encounter, or why do I have this feeling that she has a grudge? And so my mind is busy actually with that, and I'm not finding any. I don't understand it. I don't know. So I feel insecure too. I know. So I feel insecure.
So you have this tension when you believe the thought, she doesn't like me. Where do you feel that tension in your body?
I'm not really finding a center. I do feel it in my face, my jaws, and like a slight tension in my whole body, in the muscles.
So put yourself back there in that room. You're sitting, she's sitting. Who would you be sitting there without the thoughts, she doesn't like me?
I'm going to stop you guys now. Is that okay, Annika?
Yeah, it's okay.
Thank you, Celia. Okay, nice. So, yeah. How was that, Celia?
At one point, I thought, well, this is pretty easy.
Huh? Yeah.
And then I thought, oh, I should have asked whose business are you in? But I didn't. And after I thought, who would you be without the thought? I thought, should have asked whose business I'm in. So
Why do you think you should have done that?
I like that question, and it's a good realization to know that she's over there, I'm over there,
Yeah.
nobody here.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And anything else you noticed?
Just it's wonderful to facilitate people who know about the work.
Yeah, that's different things for sure. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So
And I was surprised that I volunteered.
well done. Thank you for volunteering. I really enjoyed that both
Okay.
so quick to jump so quick.
Yeah.
That's really nice. So thank you for that. So just want to mention that when you then have the thought, oh, I should have asked whose business are you in? Then just I would take a mental note of that. And then when she has answered question 4 for a bit, then I think it would be a fine opportunity to say, okay, so when you're with the thought, or you can even say it in question 4, so whose business are you in without the thought? Or you can go back to question 3 and say, so when you're with the thought, whose business are you in? And then Annika, of course, will say her business. And so when you're without the thought, whose business are you in? Right? So she might discover it herself during question 4, but if she doesn't, and if it still feels like that comes up, because again, trust what comes up for you. That came up for you. Oh, I should have asked that. Okay, it's never too late. We go a little into question 4, and then from there, I'm thinking when you are with the thought, whose business are you in actually? And then she realizes it. And to me, it's a very good with the transition between question 3 and 4, because very often it's very clear that with the thought, I'm in their business. Without the thought, I'm not in their business. And it's such a relief. So I'm totally with you on your sense there. And I just want to point out it's not too late. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We can always go back and forth, as I say. It doesn't have to be this procedural approach. Okay. So a couple of observations from me. No, I have one. No, let's wait with it. Let me ask now. You asked her about tension, the tension in the body. She mentions in question 3 that she has a tension in the body. And then you ask her, where in the body do you feel the tension? And then she's quiet for a while and she says, well, it's difficult to find a center, but it's mainly in my jaw and a little bit in the entire body. And then you take her to question 4. You take her back to the situation and into question 4. So did you have somewhere you wanted to go with that tension question, or why did you leave it? Or it felt like it was hanging a little bit, to me, like it was left a little hanging in the air. So I'm curious what was going on in you around that, asking that question.
Well, I thought it would be a great question to ask, so I got it out. I'm done.
You got it out?
I got it.
And you were done. Was that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I totally agree it was a great question to ask. Very good to get it grounded there in the body. So well done. You succeeded on that. And for me, it's if we start looking into that with the body, then I would stay with it for a little longer. So what's there in the jaws? Like what is going on for you there? Because it's not just asking the question. It's bringing the client into some kind of grounded experience of what's going on. And at that point, she wasn't really experiencing a lot we can say that's what she said herself, right? So we could go in a little more. So what are you feeling in that jaw? Like, okay, what is it? Like, so, and for me, as I say it now, what comes up is something about biting down or keeping something shut in. So I can see a potential direction there, which is, what would it be like to say to her, I think you don't like me. Is that true? Right? That was what might have come out of being a little more curious about the jaw. Who knows? But that's just a curiosity I would have, I think. Why is it in the jaw? So again, trusting that unconscious, why is there tension in the jaw? There is a reason why it's in the jaw and not in the knee, right? So we can use that if that shows up for us. We can use that as sort of an indicator that could make us curious. Why would we have tension in the jaw? I'm biting down. Okay, what am I biting down? Like, and then just see where does that take her, and we don't know. So it felt to me like you left that a little, like, as you say, you ticked it off and then you were done and you could move on, right? Which is more in the procedural category of asking the questions than in the true exploration of these sub-questions are actually invitations to little sub-meditations where we can further explore some particular aspect and not, of course, as you know, a tick-off thing, right? So that was, yeah. Now, there are two comments I would like to bring. I felt a little, it was a bit of an intense start for me. Like I just put you on and then you said, okay, so what's your situation? Which felt like, and I would always, even with experienced practitioners, we are still animals. And I would always suggest a little bit of just calibrating in the beginning, a little bit of social connection of just, okay, so do you feel ready? Or, oh, thank you for, you can do anything that's just like in the category of, let's just connect so that your client feels safe. Now, this is a client who's very good at making herself feel safe in the situation. And still, it always supports to just have that little social, what's it called? It's called something.
Connection.
Yeah, no, it's actually a different word. I can't find it right now. It's in the toolbox as well. I have some fancy word for it. But yeah, basically just connection to interact. So that would be the first thing I would say. That felt a little jarred, and I understand why, because I had just pushed you one time, so I imagine you were aware that there was a time pressure or whatever. That's the one. But what's more interesting for me is you then very beautifully got clarification on the situation. You asked her, can you ground in it? She explained it. You asked, are you sitting or standing? So you get very clear on the few things you need to know. You don't get too much, just enough that you can hold her in the situation. You're sitting there, she's in the other end. You bring that, and then you ask question one, is it true? And then Annika has this huge smile on her face as she says no, and she's just smiling, right? Big. So now something is going on in her, right? Which is a meta level of something is happening. We can see that in her face. She's answering the question, and you choose to continue on that level, we can say, not commenting on what's going on for her. And you ask, where did the no come from? That's what you do ask. And she says, I just see it very clearly, but she's also smiling big on that one. And then you ask about question three. How do you react? What happens? And then she starts laughing. She even laughs and says, well, it's just so obvious. And she starts talking about it. So again, I would have been very curious to know what's going on with that smiling. That might be a very interesting path to, there's something meta going on in her. I think it's clear. So I would have loved you to ask her, I noticed that you're smiling, and this is an example of of mirroring something back to the client that they may not even be aware of, right? I noticed that you're smiling as you say that. What's going on for you? Could be the way to ask that question. Or I see a big smile on your face. What's that about? Or something like that. And we don't know where Annika would have taken that, and I'm going to try to ask her in a moment. But I'm sure there would have been something interesting there. I'm just convinced there is. But we become a little blind to those little subtle things when we are sort of in the procedure of just getting our no and then going to the question three and so on, right? So what I'm pointing out to all of us and inviting is to notice when something happens like that, try to see what it is, at least within the exploration of our class. See what happens if you go there. There's some energy there of some kind being released by Annika. So something is going on for her. Yeah. Can you remember, Annika, what happened when you were laughing and smiling in question 1 and 3?
My memory is not so good either.
We have a great club here. That's really nice.
Well, I remember on Is It True? I remember that yeah, I don't know why I laughed. It was just no, and
yeah, okay, that's fine. You can't reconstruct it, which is another example, or which for me is like, that's why it's good to catch it, because there was something there happening, and maybe it would have led nowhere. It would just have brought awareness, and maybe it would have opened a door that we weren't aware of might open.
Yeah, I think maybe I kind of sensed something of this, making myself huge and her doing her thing, and maybe even not having an idea of, even who I am, or something like that.
Wow, right? Yeah, not having an idea who you. So you went straight into.
Well, she knows my name and stuff, but I have no idea what she thinks of me.
Nice. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, and we can't know. That moment will be forever lost, but that's what it's like. 100 options open up all the time, and we can only go down one of them, and we just have to use whatever navigation we want to choose. And again, my invitation is, I can even say it like that to put it more strongly. In your next part, I invite you to experiment with doing that which is not the obvious thing to do. Okay, just as an experiment. If something is very logical, like I'll go to the next question now, see if there's something else you can do just to try it out. See what comes up for you. If I was not going to ask question 3 now, what would I do instead? And you don't have to do it on every single step, because then it's going to probably explode into madness, right? But you can have that little attention, like, okay, now it's very obvious for me what to do. Let me do something else just to see what happens. Yeah, as an experiment. Okay, thank you, Annika. And do you have anything, Annika, you want to add in terms of Celia's facilitation or anything like that? That is, saying just a thank you. Yeah, thanks a lot. And Celia, for you, anything you want to add or say?
I don't think so. Just I've noticed how nervous I've been about facilitating in the class, and it wasn't that bad.
No, good, good.
Thank you for your feedback.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, so I do want to mention this then, that this thing that you mentioned, that like this nervousness that you felt, Celia, right? And I want to say it's very honest. Like I really enjoy engaging with you. And one of the reasons I've really enjoyed doing it this time, and also when I was teasing you a little bit last time, is like it's part of my way to heal that nervousness, we can call it perhaps, right? To create a safer space for you where we become a little more level, and we can make a few jokes. And I noticed about the plastic surgery, you were very open to sharing about that. So I realized, oh, okay, you're actually playful and open, and I can sort of banter with you a little bit. And we did that today as well. So just going a little bit back to Birgit and my conversation before, I would say there's a lot of other things going on when we do these things than just social engagement. That was the fancy word I was looking for. Engage like engage with the client, like do some, it's called social engagement. And we have this social engagement system that calms us down. So it's a way of bringing you, in this case, but bringing the client into a more regulated response. If they are a little unregulated and their, nervous system is out there, the parasympathetic, sympathetic kind of nervous system stuff, then to bring them back by just being a human being with them, basically, and having some fun. So that's what you didn't do in the beginning here, Celia, A. And B, that's the purpose of some of the fooling around that we do in class, that it has that effect. It creates an atmosphere that is that supports, like, instead of a fearful, I have to do it right kind of atmosphere, it becomes, I can fuck up and it's okay, right? So I just want to point that out, Birgit, also in terms of our conversation, that there is that little thing going on as well, managing the atmosphere by doing other things. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm happy to hear you feel less nervous, and I'm happy that you did it, and I'm happy that you had a good experience with it, Celia. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
And yes, I really appreciate you here. So it's so good. And now I worry that you will think everything I do has this underlying plan of manipulation. And I want to repeat, it is very genuine, and I am aware while I do it that I direct it in different areas or whatever might be the case. Yeah. Good. That's it. We are 4 minutes over time. I invite you to try to do what I suggested. Do the not obvious and see what happens. At least once or twice during it. Let's put it like that. Once or twice during your facilitation when you do the pod thing, try to do what's not the obvious thing to do, just to see what happens. Okay? I'll put that in as homework. Other than that, great to see you guys. Have fun in your pods. You're meeting again, so that's neat. And yeah. End of today. Let's unmute and say our goodbyes, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
everybody.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
3, 2, 1.